Hi, this is Patricia Stepler with Your Inside Power, where we help to turn you to start to live from the inside out instead of allowing the world to determine what your life looks like. Today, I have a very important topic and one that I've been leading up to, and this is how to become a money magnet expert. And this is something that I'm working on. Why? Well, most of my clients want to earn more money. And right now, it just seems like there's a lot of anxiety about money and influence. So I am doing a series on and off for the next probably few months that will cover some ideas about money and how to not only earn more money, but how to make sure that you continue to earn money and it's not a one-time thing. So that's what this episode is going to be about. How do we take and attract more money into our lives? And how can we make sure that we will continue to have that money in our lives? So let's get started and we'll see how much we can cover in the next 30 minutes. Most of us worry about how we're going to have money to maybe pay the rent or pay the mortgage, pay the car. Maybe something goes wrong. You need a new water heater. You need a new roof on your house, and the bills just keep coming in. And then you have to worry about, well, do I have enough money to pay for groceries or medicine or, whatever. And sometimes it becomes very frustrating. And we wonder, am I ever going to get ahead? Am I always going to have this struggle? Why do I feel like there's never any money in a bank account? Why do I feel that I'm just not successful or I'm not having the success in life, even though maybe I have a really good job or, really good business going on, but yet it just seems like such a struggle. Well, here's the thing. Are you ready to just throw off the limitations? And, are you ready to enable yourself to have the life where you have the time and money figured out? And are you willing to do something about it? Those are questions you have to answer. You see, I can give you all the information in the world and I can share it with you, but if you don't implement any of it, it's not going to matter in your life. How do I know that? Because I've done the same thing. I've gotten the information and not implemented it, and nothing changes. And that's when we get frustrated because we think we've got all this information, but the problem is in our subconscious mind. And we'll get into that in a minute. But I want you to remember that you have enormous potential inside of you. Most of you, it's just bottled up and it's waiting to be shared to the world. And I also believe that you are here with a purpose. And if you're not living your purpose, then you're just wandering through life. And honestly, that's what about 95% of people do. They just wander through life. They get a job, they don't really know why. They maybe go to college and they don't know what they want to do. So they just pick something and then they come out, they have a job and they don't know why they keep going to this job because maybe they don't even like it. And they're not living on purpose. They're just living. And sometimes you even get to the point where you question, what am I doing this for? You see, I want you to have purpose. I want you to live your life intentionally. I want you to have the lifestyle that you choose. You see, I believe that you were born with riches in all kinds of facets of your life. And I also understand that the mind is very powerful. And when you put a thought or you put a message out to the universe, it's going to answer it. And sometimes we say, but that's not what I wanted. Well, of course it wasn't. However, it's what you asked for inadvertently. So what I want you to do is to imagine the kind of life you want, the kind of money you want to be earning, the kind of lifestyle you want to have. And I want you to see yourself with the good that you desire. Now, what is that? Well, I don't know what it is for you. It might be a beautiful wardrobe. It might be, going out and purchasing that new car that you really want, not the one that you think you can afford. It might be moving to that dream house. It might be having that dream job. It might be having that perfect relationship with somebody that you can really love. It might be having the health that you want. You see, I can't answer that for you, but I do know that the mind is powerful. And so you need to be thinking the thoughts that are in harmony with what you want and forgetting the thoughts that are not in harmony with what you want. And so that's what we're going to be talking about with being a money magnet expert. Now, I want you to understand a couple premises before we get into this. First of all, to be rich does not mean to be satisfied or content with a little. You ought not to be satisfied with a little if you're capable of enjoying more. Sometimes we think we should be satisfied with what we have. Maybe, perhaps as a child, you were told, be grateful for what you have. Yes, you do want to be grateful for what you have. But what I also know is as human beings, we were designed to always be searching for more, to want more. There is nothing wrong with wanting more. That's what we're here for growth and expansion. Well, you can't have growth and expansion if you don't earn more money. Now, if you're satisfied and you have everything you want, good for you. And I'm so happy for you. But if there's just a twinge inside of you that wants something more in any area of your life, it doesn't have to be money. So I want you to understand, we're not just talking about money. I'm using that as an example because most of my clients are business people and they want to earn more money. So that's my focus. But what I'm teaching you today, you can use in any aspect of your life. So life has advanced to such a degree that you need to have money just to live a perfectly average life. I mean, look at the things that you really need to have: internet, cell phones, computers, and it all costs money beyond, shelter and food and clothing. And so just to live an average life takes quite a bit of money. And if you want to do good for others, if you want to be able to help causes that you believe in, you can either devote a lot of time to those causes, or you can devote money to those causes. And there's certainly plenty of causes out there that would be glad for you to earn a lot of money so you can donate it to them. So let's just get clear on that. What money is, what money isn't. So the other thing I want you to realize, and that you will need to understand what I'm sharing with you today, is that everything is energy. If you look around you, everything that you see is energy. And everything that you see is vibrating at a very high rate of speed. I look at my desk and it looks solid to me. And I remember talking about this in chemistry class. We look at something and it looks completely solid. It is not solid. It is vibrating at such a high rate that we can't see the vibration. But if we had the right equipment, we could see that it is moving very fast. Nothing is standing still. It just appears like it is, but nothing is standing still. I want you to also understand that your habits, your paradigms are controlling all your actions. And until you learn to change your habits, your actions basically will not change. If you want to move to earning more money or to having a better, riches in some area of your life, you're going to have to make some changes. If it's health, you're going to have to alter the foods you eat and the exercise that you do, in addition to the different thoughts that you may have. If it is building better relationships, maybe you're going to have to alter and have a new habit of how you interact with people. You see, no matter what area of life we're talking about, you must be able to change your actions, and you must be able to move to a different frequency. So everything is energy, and your habits and your actions have to change. The next thing I want you to realize is that you have to be in harmony with the good that you desire. Everything, every goal, every want that you have is on a different frequency. Now, let's say you're earning $50,000, but you really want to earn $500,000. Well, $500,000 earner is on a much higher frequency than a person earning $50,000. And so if you're sitting on that frequency of $50,000 and you'd make no changes, you're not going to change much. If you want to get to that 500,000, you're going to have to make some changes, and you're going to have to move to the frequency of that $500,000. Now, that seems a little bit out there. So what does that mean? You're going to have to start seeing yourself in your imagination as a person worthy of earning $500,000. What does that person do? What does it look like? What kind of friends do they have? What kind of atmosphere do they live? What kind of things do they do? How do they hold themselves? How do they talk and interact with other people? What kind of clothing do they wear? What kind of cars do they drive? What kind of houses do they live in? All those things you're going to have to move to. So another thing I need you to realize is that in order to sustain your income and sustain this lifestyle, you also have to believe that there's a higher power. Now, what you call that higher power, that's up to you. For me, it's God. For some people, it might be Allah. For other people, it might be source energy, higher power, infinite intelligence. The name doesn't matter to me. It's just the belief that there's something out there more powerful than you are that wants you to have prosperity. You have to understand that whatever that higher power is for you, they want you to succeed. They want you to be prosperous. And I want you to start to visualize the idea that everything that you want is like sitting there and they're just waiting to hand it to you. So that new house that you like, they're just holding it, saying, will you please come get this? But you see, the only way you can get it is to move to that higher frequency. And the last thing I need you to understand is that there is a process that will help you to get to that increase. Okay, so everything's energy. You're going to have to change your paradigms or your habits. You need to get in vibrational harmony with the good you desire. There is a higher power out there, and that wants you to be prosperous and give you everything that you want. And that there is a process or a science to getting this increase. So if you can go along with that, then I think you can listen to my talks here about money and earning money and how to go about that. So what I want you to realize is your mind is so powerful. And your mind is like a garden, and you get to plant the seeds in that garden. You can plant beautiful flowers, or you can allow the weeds to grow and choke out everything of beauty in your mind. So in your mind, you can plant positive thoughts. You can plant positive image. You can plant all the beautiful things that you want. And then you can allow worry, doubt, and fear, choke them all off. It's your choice. Or when worry, doubt, or fear start to creep into your garden, you can yank those weeds out and toss them aside. It's your choice. One will give you what you want. The other will keep you from getting it. So we have in our mind these habits, or these, let's just call them pockets in your subconscious mind of habits and paradigms. Scientists say and I've heard this from a number of different sources, that somewhere between 95 and 97% of our day is spent in doing habitual routines. When I first heard that, I thought, that can't be possible. I mean, I do different things all day long. Do you? Do you really? I was sharing with some people yesterday, and I'll just share this with you. When I got up in the morning, and this was yesterday is when I was thinking about this, but when I got up in the morning, I just go into a routine. I don't really think about it. It's just a routine I go into. And I said the biggest thought I had was, which palette of eyeshadow do I get out? And I had to think, what I was doing that day and which eyeshadow I wanted, because it was going to be in camera. So I used a different, palette than I normally would do for just everyday wear, so on and so forth. Anyway, that's not really a deep thought. That's pretty much a surface thought. Which eyeshadow am I wearing? So in that sense, yes, I was thinking of something, but it was really not deep thought. It was very superficial. Most of the things we do when we're thinking throughout the day is pretty superficial. It might be deciding what I'm going to eat for dinner. It might be, do I watch this TV or do I read a book? Things like that. That's not deep thought. That's pretty much habit. Deep thoughts are when you start to wonder, what is my purpose? What can I do today in order to accomplish my goal next week? That's when you're getting more into deep thought. But most people don't do that. They just kind of go through their day in a routine. Now, I would like to just for a minute here quickly to share with you my screen. And as I share this, what I want to do is to explain to you a picture. This is a picture that was actually started by Dr. Thurman Fleet back in 1934 when he was working with people to help them solve their problems. And what he realized is we think in pictures, and yet we don't really have a picture of the mind. We don't know what the mind looks like. So often people think of the brain, but the brain's not your mind. The brain is a bodily function. The mind is all-encompassing and connects with the world. So he came up with this stick figure, which I absolutely love because it's something I can draw. And he decided that this would be the model to share with people what their mind looks like. So if we put in that top part of the circle, the conscious mind, and the bottom is subconscious, and the small circle, the body. Now, the conscious mind is our intellect. This is where school educates us, and it is completely objective. So you can hear or see something, or somebody tells you something, or you read something, and you can decide whether you agree with it or not. The subconscious mind is emotional. It's what the ancient Greeks used to call the heart. And the subconscious mind is the feeling part, and it's subjective. It doesn't think for itself. It only does what it's told. Now, keep in mind, when you were a small child, you didn't have the ability to decide and use your conscious mind. It really wasn't there. Your subconscious mind was totally open, and everything that was going on around you for those first 7-8 years was just pouring right into your subconscious mind. It isn't until you're about 8 that you really start to develop your own conscious mind. So with this, what we must do today is learn to live from the inside out, which is what your inside power in this show is all about. Learning and helping you to live from your inside, instead of allowing the outside world to dictate to you what's going to happen in your life. So here's what happens. In our conscious mind, we get an idea. But in our subconscious mind is where our habits are stored. And one of our biggest habits is our self-image. And our self-image will determine more about our lifestyle than anything else. So when you have to alter a paradigm, self-image is one that is often one you have to build a new image. But anyhow, you get this idea, and that's originated in the conscious. It comes from the ether, and you get these ideas that pour into your mind, and you get to decide whether you're going to accept that idea, reject that idea, you're going to think about that idea. All those things happen in conscious mind. So we get this idea, and it starts spinning around in our head. And as it's spinning in our head, it hits one of those habits that we have in our subconscious mind. Now, if that idea is in complete harmony with what we want, then we'll go forward. But in this case, that idea is a conflict to the paradigm or the habitual thinking that we have, even though in our conscious mind it's exactly what we want. Keep in mind that the subconscious mind controls the action that the body will go into. So in this case, you have that idea, or it could be a business where they've trained people and you've been trained how to do something, but because your habitual thinking does not allow you to accept that, it hits that paradigm and we do nothing. And that's what we call the knowing doing gap. Consciously, we know what to do. Subconsciously, our body will not allow us to do it because it's not in harmony with our habitual thinking. So the action our body goes into is nothing, and we stay stuck. And this causes enormous frustration with people. So let's change this now. We have this idea. Now we have built a new paradigm, one that is in harmony with the good that we desire. So if we go back to thinking about, you're earning $50,000, but you want to earn 500. So now we've built this new paradigm of what your life looks like if you're earning $500,000, what kind of things you're doing, what kind of vacations you're taking, what kind of clothes you're wearing, what kind of car you're driving, what kind of house you live in, and so on. And you've built this new image for yourself in your subconscious mind. And so now that idea of earning $500,000 is in that consciousness. The subconscious will only accept, it doesn't know the difference between real and imagined. So it can only accept what is being told. So now that idea has been firmly established in your conscious mind. It's been firmly implanted into your subconscious mind. So now the idea of earning $500,000 is there in total. So it hits that paradigm now. And because it's in harmony, the action your body takes is the positive actions you want, and you get results. So hopefully that helps you to understand what I'm talking about a little bit more. What we have to realize, though, is that our paradigms control everything that we do. They control our perception. This is why two people can look at the same thing and see two completely different things, because our paradigms are in control of it. It controls our logic. So again, you can have two people looking at the same scenario, but because they feel differently or they have different logic, that's controlling them, they're going to interpret things differently. Controls our ability to earn money. It controls how productive we are. It controls how effective we are. And it controls our use of time. So all that is controlled by the paradigms or the habitual thinking in our subconscious mind. So if we want, again, going back to the idea of earning more money, going from 50,000 to 500,000, we have to think about frequencies. As I said earlier, every want, every desire, everything that you own is on a frequency, just like your cell phones. So your cell phone is on a frequency, and you want to call or to text or to communicate with somebody else on a different cell phone. You plug in their number, you put that message, or you call them, and now you're connecting because you've connected to their frequency. That's what you have to do with your dreams and goals. You have to connect to the frequency where they are. So frequencies are infinite. And whatever frequency you're currently on is where you feel comfortable. Now, when you move to a higher frequency, it's going to feel very uncomfortable. And that's how we have to get out of our comfort zone. And we have to move beyond where we are. keep in mind that all these different levels of frequency that are connected one to another. They're connected to the one above it and the one below it. So if we need to move to a higher frequency in order to accomplish our goal, what we're going to find is when we make that move and when we start to visualize what it is we want and we start to move towards that goal, it's going to feel uncomfortable. As you continue to do that, what you'll find is that you're going to start at that higher frequency. You're going to be communicating with what seems like a different world. And it goes beyond your senses. And that's what you need to get to. Because when you're really comfortable with where you are, we communicate with the world through our senses. And it's very comfortable. But when we start to move to that higher frequency, it's not comfortable and it feels very foreign to us. And it seems beyond our reach, and that's okay. It's going to feel that way. Don't let that scare you. So for today, and what I'm talking about, and again, I'm going to have to finish this over the next few months, we're going to be talking about how to become that magnet and attract, money or the good that you want, whatever it is that you want in your life. But you take a look at where you are today, and you can see how you got there. Steve Jobs said, you can connect the dots looking back, but you can't connect the dots looking forward. So as you move forward, you just have to hope that those dots will connect. So you can see where you are today. And if you take an honest look at it, you can see how you got to where you are today. To go beyond where you are, that means you're going to have to move to a higher frequency. So you set that goal, which is above you. It's beyond, it's a stretch. You don't know how to do it. And those are the kind of goals you want to set, the ones that you don't know how to accomplish. If you know how to accomplish it, there's no inspiration. So you look at that and you set that goal higher. And you have to start living and acting as if you've already accomplished it. That is so important. Emotionally, you have to act as though you've already accomplished that goal. Here's a quote from Albert Einstein. He said that everything is energy, which I said when we first started. Everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. Match the frequency of the reality you want, and you cannot help but to get to that reality. It can be no other way. It's not philosophy, it's physics. Albert Einstein said that. So everything is energy, and all we have to do is to match the frequency. Like I just said, you have to move to that frequency of the reality that you want, the goal that you want. Once you match that frequency and you start to live on that frequency like you've already accomplished it, you cannot help but make that your reality. Keeping in mind everything that you have today in front of you, the good, the bad, everything that has happened to you in the past, you have created that reality. And sometimes that's really hard to accept. But we do this by the thoughts and the things we say. So it's very important that you keep the thoughts and, the words that you say. Always focus on what you want and not having that opposite thing going. Like I mentioned in the beginning, you can't be thinking of being prosperous while thinking about the struggle you're having. Those two are opposite. And far too often, it's the struggle that will win out. So I suggest you go to my website, as is posted in this beginning, yourdreampower.com. And when you go there, go to the events section, because I have some workshops on this topic. And I have a one-day event coming up in September of 2022 that will also help you with that. And, you can also look at my website, because you'll see events coming up from time to time that will be on topics for what you want. So this is Patricia Stepler with Your Inside Power, where we are helping you to develop your skills on the inside so that you can create the reality that you truly want.